Hi everybody, and welcome to another part of the Solidity tutorials. And here we are, and we're in the following of the dex.sol smart contract. We've managed to finish it in the last part, and now we're going to compile it. So there are a couple of problems here. Let's save the smart contract and take a look at these problems. So here we change the parentheses with the brackets for both of these sentences here. So here we seem to have a problem with the emit trade. So emit trade, we have the message sender, so we also need to have the seller. So seller also needs to be added here, and now it's completely compiled, successfully compiled. Now we're ready to test our smart contract. So we can switch to here, deploy and run the transaction, and now we can deploy the smart contract. So first thing first, we need to copy the address of the message sender. Here we can add 10 ways, and to the contract balance, click on the transact, and it has been added to the balance of the contract. So now we can determine here how much money we want to deposit. So for example, let's first notice how much we've got here. So here I can enter here, let's enter 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion, and just copy the zeros and paste it one more time. So now let's transact, and as you can see here, it's been successfully deposited here. Let's check call for the owner. As you can see, the owner is this address. So here we've just we've got that amount of token added to deposit. So actually, let's do this again, and okay, here we go. So now we want to trade, and so here we should determine the seller. So notice that on the dexes we don't have this, we do not determine the seller. So the dex itself finds the seller, so the mechanism of a dex is much more complicated than what we have here. It's a very simple one. So here it's a kind of a peer-to-peer trade, so we determine the seller by ourselves. So also notice that if I determine the seller by myself and the seller has not deposited any money, then we cannot run the smart contract, and we cannot do the transaction, right? So here we enter the seller, we are the buyer, so the amount is 2, and the price of each one of them is, for example, 1,000. And now let's transact. As you can see, there is an error. Why? Because seller has insufficient balance. And why the seller has insufficient balance? As you can see, the seller has so many Ethereum. So why is it that? The reason is the seller has not deposited any money. So let's switch to the seller. The seller needs to deposit some money here, and as you can see, he or she has done this. So right now, let's switch to the buyer, and now once we click on the transact, it's now successful because the seller has deposited some money in there. So now the transaction has been completed. So we've managed to buy something, and the transaction has been successful. Let's do it again, one more time, again and again. We've deposited enough money to buy as much as we want. So the price of each one of the coins or tokens he or she wants to sell is 1,000. So the amount is 2, so 2,000 will be reduced from the balance, and then here we go. So we've got this. So now also we can add the withdraw function. So let me check if we have added the withdraw function. No, we haven't added the withdraw function, so we can add that here inside of our smart contract. and see if, so because here we have traded, we have deposited some money, but we haven't withdrawn any money to our account, so we need to also do that. So let me just remove this instance of the contract and add the function related to that one as well. So now let's add the function related to withdraw here before the trade function, but it doesn't matter where you put it, it's just optional. So function withdraw, and it gets uint 256 amount, and it's a public function. So we enter for a function, and there are some requirements. It requires that the amount be greater than 0, and otherwise invalid withdrawal amount. Invalid withdrawal amount. Also requires that amounts be smaller or equal, amounts be smaller or equal to the balances of the message sender, balances of the msg.sender. Otherwise, will show to the user insufficient amount, okay, insufficient funds or insufficient balance. And next thing is to increase the balances of the message sender by the amount, msg.sender by the amount, and then payable msg.sender transfer amount, payable msg.sender transfer amount. So, and then we'll emit the withdrawal event, so msg.sender and the amount. So that's it. Let's save this, compile it successfully, and now we're ready to deploy this. Now, in order to do so, we can simply deploy it with the okay, let's here choose the third account. It's totally up to you, but here I have a purpose for doing this. So let's deploy this, and let's fund the contract. As you can see, the withdraw has been added to our contract options. So now let's choose 10 ways for adding to the contract. Let's transact, and as you can see, it has been added. Now here we need to deposit some money here, so let's check the balance first. Just remember this number right over here, because we're going to deposit some money from this account. So for example, 1,000 to deposit. So now let's check this again. As you can see, the number has changed. Now we've successfully deposited. Also, you can see this checkbox, this check parameter over here that shows the success of the deposit. Now we want to trade, but before we do that, the seller also needs to deposit some money. So for example, 2,000 deposited by the seller, and now we can enter the address of the seller here, and let's switch to the buyer, and the amount here could be, for example, 10 tokens, and here 200 for each one of them. So let's click on the transact, and it has been successfully done. Here now we can withdraw the money and here let's see how much we can deposit. So let's choose first of all 2000, withdraw, and as you can see it's unsuccessful, and the reason it is that not enough balances has been chosen. So here let's change this amount to 10. Withdraw, as you can see, it's been successful because the amount that here we've been given is 10, and for that we've each one of the things that we've bought has been 200 the price. So 200 multiplied by 10 will be 2000, and as a result we can only withdraw 10. So I cannot remember what we entered as the deposit amount, but if it was 2000, then that is the correct number to enter here, or at least this will be sufficient. So because we will have even more, so let's try more. As you can see, we do not have any more, so we have entered 2000 for the buyer as well. And so that's it for the testing of this smart contract. We have successfully implemented a DEX smart contract on using Solidity, but notice that this no exchanges in the world uses this kind of smart contract. This is just for educational purposes, and the smart contracts of a decentralized exchange will be much longer and more complicated, and there are so many things to consider for writing the smart contract of the decentralized exchange. So that's it for this part of the tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed it, and till the next one, goodbye.